We start tonight at 5 o'clock with a wake-up call, and it comes from leaders in Indiana's Jewish community. There are new numbers out that now show a historic rise in anti-Semitic incidents across our state.
Samantha Johnson spent the day digging into new research and hearing from those most impacted.
Anti-Semitism is not just a Jewish problem, it is an American problem. And it requires all of us to do something about it.
More than a dozen Jewish community leaders standing behind one another with what they call sobering statistics in hand. New numbers from the Anti-Defamation League out Tuesday.
For the fourth straight year, ADL recorded record levels of anti-Semitic incidents in Indiana, across the Midwest, and around the country.
Here in Indiana last year, there were 142 reported incidents of harassment, vandalism, and violence against the Jewish community. That's up 141% from the year before and up more than 700% from just 5 years ago.
Sadly, the trend we're seeing in Indiana mirrors what we're also seeing in the Midwest and around the country. The larger story, though, is the Jewish community is being targeted with hate in ways that we have not experienced in generations.
All this, a record number of anti-Semitic incidents reported in public places, also on college campuses. And of course, that includes institutions here in Indiana.
I received messages and hateful comments toward me simply over the fact that I do not hide my Judaism.
Ruthie Rosenberg is a senior at North Central High School. She says she had trouble deciding where to go to college.
Will I be safe as a Jewish student? What are the hate crimes like?
Ultimately, she chose IU, where Jeff Lincoln shares one direct message to students.
You are not alone. You belong and you are valued.
Yellow ribbons symbolizing that too, sharing hope and solidarity.
And it reminds us that combating anti-Semitism is not just a Jewish responsibility, it's a community responsibility.
In Indianapolis, Samantha Johnson, 13 News.
The Anti-Defamation League has been tracking incidents for 46 years, both criminal and non-criminal. Well, last year's numbers were the highest ever recorded, and we have linked the full report on our website, WTHR.com.
Developing tonight here at 5, a former teacher at Brownsburg Elementary School now will not get any time behind bars after taking a plea deal for neglect of a student.
Sarah Seymour was accused of forcing a student in the life skills program to eat his own vomit a little more than 2 years ago. Seymour was set to go on trial next week, but it was canceled after she pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor neglect charge Monday, and a Hendricks County judge sentenced her.
So as a part of that plea that she made, the failure to make a report charge against her was dismissed. However, the judge sentenced Seymour to 365 days in jail for neglect of a dependent. She did get credit for 2 of those days, and the other 363 were suspended. The judge also issued a fine. It was $1.
So you might remember the incident involving the student who was 7 at the time happened at Brown Elementary. The prosecutor charged several other people for their suspected involvement as well. Julie Taylor, another former teacher, pleaded guilty to failure to make a report in 2024. The judge sentenced her to 90 days probation.
An instructional aide, Deborah Knipe, is also charged in this case, and she's pictured here. Knipe is scheduled to go on trial at the end of June on charges of neglect of a dependent and failure to make a report. A former aide and a behavioral technician at Kids Count Therapy face charges of failure to report.
Tonight, an Indianapolis man is facing charges in connection to a deadly shooting where the victim's body was found in a U-Haul.
This happened at the beginning of the month along East Washington Street near North Rural. That's near Willard Park on the Near East Side of Indy. 61-year-old Aaron McClellan died in the shooting.
Newly released court documents detail what investigators believe happened, and as well as what detectives say surveillance video showed. Those documents state the man now under arrest, Russell Phelps, is seen in the video wearing gloves, carrying keys, and throwing the victim's phone toward the alley.
Officers say that Phelps admitted to picking up the phone near the U-Haul, saying he thought it was his. And he told police he wore gloves because he is, quote, a clean person. Investigators say he also told them that he didn't take the U-Haul keys and didn't know how they ended up in someone else's apartment.
And he now faces charges of assisting a criminal in committing murder and obstruction of justice.
In another case now tonight, Metro Police are looking for a man wanted in connection to a deadly shooting from 2024.
19-year-old Samuel Fancher is charged with shooting and killing another teen on Indy Southeast Side last January. It happened on Spring Wind Lane near South Franklin Road and Interstate 74.
In newly released court documents in the case, police now say that Fancher shot 19-year-old Julius Parker Jr. during a drug deal. He now is charged with murder and robbery, resulting in serious bodily injury.
Tonight we're learning Pope Francis had some doubts about greeting the crowd outside the Vatican on Easter. However, Vatican News is reporting he was thankful that he got out there.
So here's a live look right now at Rome at St. Peter's Square. That's where the Pope delivered his blessing on Easter and made his way around the square. He traveled in the Pope Mobile. And now today we're getting a better idea of the plans to honor the 88-year-old late pontiff.
Jay Gray has a closer look at the funeral schedule from Rome tonight.
The faithful continue to honor and remember Pope Francis this evening here outside of the Vatican. The pontiff will return to St. Peter's Basilica for the last time tomorrow morning, the second station in funeral rites for the Pope. His body will lie in state through Friday evening ahead of his funeral Saturday morning. The President and First Lady, along with dignitaries and leaders from around the world, will join hundreds of thousands in and around St. Peter's Square to say thank you and one final goodbye.
Well, definitely it's a sad moment right now for the Catholic Church. Pope Francis was revolutionary, was a pope that made great changes in the different beliefs of the church, of people. He's in our hearts, he's with God right now.
Traditionally, the highly secretive conclave to elect a new pope begins 15 to 20 days after a pontiff's death. The largest group of voting cardinals ever, 135, will gather behind the locked doors of the Sistine Chapel until white smoke pours from the chimney, signaling they have selected a successor to Francis. Jay Gray, NBC News, Rome.
And tonight we're also sharing reflections on Pope Francis from the leader of the Catholic Church here in Indianapolis.
That's Archbishop Charles C. Thompson. He talked with reporters today about the Pope's loss and his legacy. Jenny Ranovich joins us live in studio to share with what he had to say today.
Well, ladies, he talked about the Pope's strong faith, his charismatic personality, and his humble nature, of course. The Archbishop says Francis encouraged all Catholics to take your faith and share it. He also said the Pope prioritized treating everyone with respect, caring for our earth, and caring for the most vulnerable, from immigrants to the poor to refugees, those whose society often pushes to the side. Archbishop Thompson was brought here to Indy by Pope Francis, appointed to the Archdiocese in 2017. He also met with the Pope 3 times over the past 12 years, and today he talked about what it was like to be in the Pope's presence.
We had a 2-hour and 40-minute meeting with him back in December of 2019, and he was just as personal and answered. He just took questions and answered any question we had, and he did it very humbly and very transparent and just very personable, and I think that's just the way he was. He had that infectious smile. He was very personable. He was very engaged with people, and he just had a pastoral heart.
Yeah, he said he really enjoyed being in his presence. The dignity of life, by the way, the Archbishop says, was also central to Francis's papacy. And do want to let you know, if you'd like to pay your respects, Archbishop Thompson will celebrate a special Mass on Thursday. That's happening at noon, and it's at St. Peter and Paul Cathedral downtown. Kind of nice to see that back story of, the church's leaders and what it's like for them on a personal level.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this at noon on Thursday is open to everybody.
It is.
Come. You don't
it
have
certainly
to be Catholic.
Is. That's right.
Like
Just
that.
pay your respects.
Yeah. Okay, Jenny, thank you so much for that report. Well, the Pope's funeral now is causing the Vatican to make some changes. Things like delaying the canonization of the first millennial saint.
The Italian teen, Carlo Acutis, died from leukemia in 2016. He was known for setting up a website documenting reports of miracles taking place across the world.
And since his death, the church attributed 2 miracles to him.